That's what I define as success, as opposed to being, in my younger days where I wanted to be a kinesiologist or I wanted to be in nursing like that. I have a desire for those things and health and wellness, but it's no longer in a position. It's just being free. And that's exactly what I feel here now being in Bali. I've been able to create an entire community where I can allow or give people the resources for them to find their happiness and their success and their freedom. So it's full circle.
Welcome back to the Leaving a Rich Legacy podcast. I am your host, Jessica Rich. And as you all are aware, this podcast is more than just a series of conversations. It's a love letter to my younger self and to anyone seeking courage and empowerment within the layers of our shared experiences in the Black and Brown communities. In our Choose Me series, we're diving deep into transformative journeys of our incredible guests who have bravely made the choice to put themselves first. Together, we'll unpack the conversations that are often left unheard and celebrate the power of self love, resilience, and authenticity. Join me as we amplify these vital stories so each of us can leave a richer legacy for the generations to come. Today, our special guest is Jana. I'm super excited to have her with us here today to share a little bit about her story and the things that she's doing. Jana, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure for me to do this podcast episode, and I'm super excited.
I am super excited. One, for me to learn a little bit more about you, but also for our viewers to learn a little bit more about you and where you live and the things that you're doing there. So I can't wait to jump in. The first thing I'll ask you is, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us who is Jana?
Yes, my name is Jana. Last name is Williams. I am a digital nomad. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I've lived there the majority of my life. I'm currently living in Bali, Indonesia. I decided to move out here for various reasons, in which we will get into. But I'm just a person who loves travel. I got into it in my early 20s, and it just felt right for me to just be moving and experiencing different things. So, yeah, I just consider myself a digital nomad and a citizen to the world.
A citizen to the world. I love that. I feel like there's a sense of freedom that comes with that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a sense of freedom and rediscovering yourself everywhere you go.
I love it. Yes, yes. Well, you mentioned you live in Bali,
Mhm.
and for the listeners who have heard about my Bali experience, they know how much I enjoyed it. I felt like I have never felt that much peace and relaxation, calm. Even on social media, I didn't post much because I wanted to enjoy it, but people could see it in the photos. And so I have to ask you, what inspired you to take that leap and move to Bali?
Ooh. Well, it all started in 2018, and I got laid off of my job. Me and my boyfriend at the time broke up, and I was just kind of in this middle range of not knowing what to do with my life. I knew there was going to be a big transformation. I just didn't know what. I decided to do a world tour in 2018 and just bounce around from different locations until I went all the way around the world. I started with Mexico, and then I went up to New York, and then I went to Iceland. I went to uh, uh, Spain and Morocco and Dubai and Jordan and Nepal and the Philippines. And one of my stops was actually to go to Bali. I was in Jakarta, which is the capital of Indonesia, and I didn't quite make it there because the day I was supposed to fly to Bali, there was a massive earthquake, and they closed the airports. And I was distraught because that was one place that I felt pulled to. I always felt pulled to go to Bali, and I just couldn't go. So I continued my world tour, and then I finally got back to the United States, and I went back home and I sat in my room and I was just looking around and I'm like, this just can't be life. This can't be it. You know, I didn't have a job. I had a house, but I just had nothing else keeping me in the States. But I just wasn't ready to make that jump yet. I went back to work for a little bit, and it just wasn't feeling right. And one day I just got out of my seat, and I went up to my manager and I was like, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I have to leave. This is just not fulfilling my heart. I just feel so dead inside. I quit my job literally within that hour. I went home, I booked a flight, and within 3 weeks, I was in Bali, and I was in awe. So that's how my journey moving to Bali started. And once I got here, I had no clue I was going to stay. I was like, I'm gonna be here for 4 months and just test it out. Um, Testing out those 4 months, I fell in love and I met so many people that were doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I never knew it was possible until I ran into all these digital nomads and Black people that were out here and doing it. So it was kind of the framework to let me know that it's possible to do anything and I can live my dreams of moving abroad and finding work because everybody else was doing it. So it was all of the affirmations and positive energy and just the answer I was looking for to move abroad and specifically to Bali, the place where I just felt so hugged and safe and embraced by the people, the culture, the locals here, and I knew it felt right as soon as came here and I touched down. It was everything I needed.
I cannot stop smiling because just listening to you, one, to take this, to take that leap of leaving your job, which, there's so many things I feel like we've been conditioned to do and what supposedly is the right thing to do per society. And you saying, like, I don't like the way I feel dead. I want to feel
Yeah.
alive in so many words, what I heard. And you made that decision to visit. Well, you were thinking 4 months and then you fell in love. So thinking about like really the way that you grew up in society, did you ever feel like any pressure that you had to come back, or was there any hesitation within that 3-week period before you left?
No, there was never any hesitation. My parents are, well, my mother is, she's an immigrant. She's from Trinidad and Tobago, and she grew up traveling. She went to Spain for a while. She lived in London for years. She taught in Barbados. So my mother and my father's side, they are both just travelers. My father is Puerto Rican and Bajan. His mother's from Barbados, his father's from Puerto Rico. So I have a family of West Indian Islanders who travel the world and they're movers and shakers. So I felt like it was in my blood just to go. And when I told my mom I wanted to go for several months, she was kind of surprised because she was like, well, I understand that you have, I've always been good with my money and saving and finance is my background. Um, but she wasn't really surprised when I left. She was just surprised that I stayed over there as long as I did when I was just supposed to be quote unquote visiting. So my family was no surprise that I was leaving. My sister left the state very young, and it's different living abroad and not being home per se, like to be with family. But I have a whole family over here. Like the community that is built out here of Black and Brown people, they take you in. Like I've met some of the most closest and just nourishing friends out here that know that we're all digital nomads, and they don't have family out here either. So it's like we kind of band together and we become family. So it was definitely not hard for me to leave once I got here. And, I go home every now and then. I try to go home at least twice a year to see my family or make sure I hit major events like my nieces and nephews' graduation or birthdays or Christmas. So I try to get out there as much as I can. I'm not able to get out there as much as I would like to, but my family also comes here to visit me once in a while as well.
Love that. I think the one thing that I hear about hesitation with Bali, right, to travel is the flight time.
Oh,
So getting there is always like, oh, it's just whether it's too expensive or it's too long. But that is like the concern I always hear. So that's great that your family has has visited you there to, see how you're living, the culture experience, in addition to you being able to come back when you can.
Yeah, that I'm telling you that I think the shortest flight I've had was maybe 27 hours, and I was lucky for that one. But it's a whole day. Like you leave on Monday, you get there on Wednesday, and you're flipped around. It's anywhere between like a 15 and 18-hour difference. It's rough. It's pretty rough. And if anyone's fortunate enough to get a business class or a first class seat, like consider yourself very blessed because those flights are very, very rough at times. Like my sister comes every once in a while and she'll break up her flights. She'll get a flight from, she lives in Dallas, so she'll get a flight from Dallas, and halfway through, she'll end up in maybe like Korea or Japan. She'll stay in Japan for like a day and then she'll continue her journey just so she can kind of recoup, get her bearings, get some sleep, and then head back over. But yeah, those flights are pretty rough. But once you get here, you have to spend a minimum of at least a week just to get, you know, acclimated to the time difference and enjoy yourself out here. So yeah, those flights are high in price right now considering everything that's going on with the world, but also it's a trek to get over here.
So you taking this leap of faith, you stepping out, you are like, I'm gonna do this for me. And when I hear that, I'm like, that's almost a I choose me story in itself. Like you chose yourself based on how you were feeling. You were no longer connected to the job. There was sounds like more that you wanted, even though you already were traveling the world. And so would you say, like, you think about your life in general and some of your big moments, is this one of the most defining times where you're like, I chose myself, or was there another instance in your life that you can share?
I think the first one was kind of a trickle effect of me leaving my job. That was the first one, where I couldn't do it, and I've never been one to just leave a job. I've always wanted to give proper notice and let them know so they can find someone to fill my position. But it was bubbling up so deep within me that I knew that if I continued to do this, I would just continue to hurt myself, and I knew I couldn't destroy the inner sides of me for someone else and essentially making somebody else rich. Let's be honest. When we're working in corporate, we're making another corporation rich, you know. I wanted to be rich within myself, and I had to choose myself within. It started, the domino effect started with leaving my job, and then moving was the next largest thing that I've done that was really just me choosing me. And I was fortunate enough when I moved out here that I met a community of people before I got here that were already telling me, like, you know, just drop everything you had, because when I came out here to travel just to see and get my bearings, I went back home for a couple of months and then I came back January 2020. But I had a group of people out here that were telling me everything I needed to do. They were giving me resources. They showed me around to other people that are around here that can help me find housing. So it was a very soft landing once I got here. And I think the third thing for me, the next thing I would say for choosing myself was starting this community. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and there was not a whole lot of representation of myself living there. I remember going back to being in the second grade, coming home from school, and my father came up to me and he said, "How was school?" It was my first day. And I went up to him and I said, "Nobody in my class looks like me." And my father would tell me that all the time, growing up. And he's like, just remember, you want to be around people that make you feel good. And to me, that was people that represented me, people that looked like me. So traveling, I found that community abroad, the people that look like me and had the same thought process as me. And when you're a solo traveler, you kind of do have that same mentality of other travelers because your mind expands when you travel. So meeting those people really opened my eyes and felt like I had that community of just people that were there for me. So that those three steps were the three steps that really identified me choosing myself before anything, because I knew that I couldn't be happy in my life if I couldn't be happy with myself.
Mm, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's good. Ooh, oh, that's good. So you have mentioned this community quite a bit since we've started. And I would love for us to talk about how did it start? I know that you said before you moved, there was a community, there was a level of support, but you are a part of Black and Bali, and it is a community from what I can see that really helps, Black and brown people to connect, feel a sense of home and community. And so I would love for you just to tell us a little about how did Black and Bali start and why is it important for you to be a part of this experience and keep it going?
Black and Bali started, I will say there was Black in Bali. Um, there was a community of Black people in Bali before I got there. And I found that community when I was traveling. I left Bali and I came back January 2020, and it was kind of already a concept in our head. We thought of the name Black in Bali, and we're like, this could be something great. So me and my two business partners put our heads together, and we said, you know what? Why don't we make this something bigger than just a community here? Why don't we try to expand this and let other people know that there's we're here. Let people around the world know that there's resources here. Let other people, brown and black and brown people around the world know that you can come here to heal. You can come here and find the resources in which you need in life that you might not find in other places. And what was most important for us as Black and brown people traveling is we found a place where we felt safe. I can't remember how many times I was in the States and you would just feel like the tension around you, especially, during the late 20 teens when we had particular presidents in office. And I mean, even now, where it just never felt like you can go outside and be safe. I live in an open carry state. And, a lot of things happen. I've lost a lot of people in my life to gun violence. And one thing you never hear here is the shooting of guns. They just don't have them. So walking down the street at night, leaving your door open, I've left keys in my motorbike. The next morning, it's still there. Like, just having that level of safetiness here is bar none. Um, yeah. It's just the level of safetiness that you get here that you just don't get in other places. And I don't think people realize that until they leave and they go back to their home. And it's almost like reverse culture shock. Like, you go back and you're just like, oh, why is everybody so aggressive? Why is everybody just moving so fast? Like, you bump into people and they don't smile, and they don't hold open doors for you. So it's a completely different feeling when you're here. And I always tell people, when I'm in Bali, I just feel like I can put my shoulders down and relax. When I'm back in the States, it's like I'm just tense all the time. So it's very much a level of comfort that I feel when I'm out here that I don't get in anywhere I've been in the world. Maybe one other place I've been, but not very many places in the world I feel like this.
I hear one you said it's like it's a place of healing and it's safe, right? And so I would assume that it brings you a sense of comfort just being there in a level of peace. Do
Yeah.
you ever find with being at the front of this community any pressure to represent the Black and brown community and the experience in Bali? Has it come to a point where, it's like it's more of a pressure versus enjoying it? If so, how do you navigate that?
There were times in the beginning when we did get some pushback from other people that were here. Mostly, we don't get any pushback from the local communities here. The pushback that we do get will be from other foreigners and their communities. And it's typical, like, oh, why do you have a black in Bali? Why isn't there a white in Bali? And I'm like, well, that's everywhere else. um, And I feel like that's the only pressure that we really get. We are an all-inclusive community. It's not just black and brown people. We have lots of local Indonesians, Balinese people, people from other countries and the cultures that come. If you're cool with us, you can come to the cookout. We're cool with you. We just want to make sure that we curate a space in which we feel safe and a space that we can come together and just be black. It's not very many places in the world where you feel safe. B, there's a community there, and you're doing things that we like to do. We like to have fun. We like to have barbecues, meetups. We do community service. We do many things here, but we just want to feel comfortable in our own skin. And being in Indonesia, the local community here allows us to be comfortable in our own skin, and they like it. Like, they see us, and we see them, and they'll look at us, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're the same color. Like, we're same people." We're like, yeah, we have our differences with everybody around the world and everybody on this island, but we appreciate the culture here, and that's the first thing that we do when we touch down, is we make sure that we support the local community, because we want to give back, and we don't want to take. Whatever we consume, we want to make sure that we provide jobs to the local communities and allow anybody that's wants to or is curious about Black and Bali to join us and let them know what we're all about.
That's awesome, especially to have that level of support from the locals and that you respect them, right? That level of respect and having inclusion.
Mm.
So when I look at, social media, Instagram is where I first discovered Black and Bali after I came to Bali in I think 2023. And so you all have host a lot of events, right? I feel like there's something almost every day of the week. And then you have your big Juneteenth celebration and event in June. So when I think about you, Jana, and you being involved with this and supporting the community, being at the face of the community, how do you take care of Jana? Right? I would assume at times, you're very involved, but self-care is really important to me. That's one thing we talk about, on this podcast and with my community. So with everything that's going on with Black and Bali, the way it's growing as well, how do you make sure you still take care of Jana?
Oh, I will say, living in Bali, it makes things extremely convenient, almost a little too convenient. I joke about this a little bit with my friends back home. Like, you guys have like Grubhub and, Uber Eats. When I tell you, you can be sitting on the toilet and order toilet paper to your room, it's wild how crazy the convenience is here. I take care of myself. The same way that, well, I can't say the same way because resources are a little bit different. But for me, I wake up every morning, meditate, um, have coconut water delivered to me. If I'm feeling bad, I will get an IV treatment. I'll take days to myself to either go up to Ubud and just completely let go of all of my electronics and just be with nature, ground myself in the soil. I eat amazing foods here, have amazing group of community of girls that I've met here that we're all just uplifting each other and giving each other positive affirmations. Um, when it comes to Bali, there's so many things that you can do for yourself when it comes to healing. And I'll be a little bit vulnerable right now. I had to rush home in February because I got a call from my mother, and she told me my dad wasn't looking too good. He's in hospice. I went back to the States, and 5 days later, my father passed away. um, it's tough losing a parent and being abroad and having that guilt afterwards, feeling like I maybe I could have been there more for my father. But I knew in my heart that he loved and was proud of what I was doing abroad. But when I got back to Bali maybe 3 weeks ago, and I just isolated myself. I took myself on a trip up to Ubud. I got a villa, and released all the feelings I was feeling. I had um, my lady come over and she does treatments. She gave me a blessing and had a couple of IVs just to rebalance my electrolytes from flying, and ate good food and just relaxed. I just took the load off. And Bali will give you the opportunity and the space and the place to do so. And I'm so blessed to be in a place to where I can just relax and relieve myself. There's many of healers here that will help you. There's also international hospitals in which you can go to if you're looking for any more like intense type of healing. Um, but Bali has everything, like from nail salons to people that braid hair. So um, I I I come here and I have all the resources, and being in Black and Bali, you meet people along the way. These resources and services can come straight to your door. Like you can order a massage and just lay in your bed and get a massage. Um, so healing looks different for everybody, and I read a lot, and I just journaled a lot, but being here, it really helped me get to the healing that I needed, because I was in the States for maybe 7 weeks after my dad passed, and I just couldn't catch my breath. And as soon as I got back to Bali, I just felt like I can breathe deeply again, and it was just what I needed. And this is home for me, so yeah, the States can do a number to you, and I'm just so grateful that I'm here and I have the time and the place to heal myself. And it's an ongoing journey. Healing is never just something that you just do and it's done. It takes time. So I'm just fortunate enough to be here and be able to do that in Bali.
That is awesome that you Bali is that for you in this journey, right? And in this process for you, where you not only could step away, but just being there in general was able to be a part of your healing process. But I love to hear that you knew that you needed that isolation, right? Love family and being around family, but there was something in you that you realized you needed outside of that, and isolating yourself and just pouring into yourself. I think at times a lot of us we don't do that. We just pick up and keep going, not realizing we need a moment. We just need a
Mhm.
moment. And so I think that is great. And continue to talk to you. I just feel like I'm moving to Bali, girl. I'm gonna be in the community in a couple years. Because it
Come on
just
down.
it is my mom, my sister gonna be like, "Wait a minute now." But no, I just everything you're saying is just it just sounds so refreshing, and even in such a difficult time, it's a part of your healing process. So I think that's awesome. So when you know how to take care of yourself, pour into yourself. You said it's so convenient there, and that's an awesome thing. You talked about the food, fresh and coconut water. So there's so many things that can contribute to your well-being. You did step away from corporate America though. And so I would think that, looking at Black and Bali, like you all have an amazing group of people. There's a lot of things going on. And so on the outside looking in, it appears to be a very successful community. For you, once working in corporate and thinking about like goals that you had, when you wanted to be, when you grew up, right? When you were a kid, like when I grew up, I want to do this, and thinking about things from society. How has success and happiness evolved for you? Since you were younger? Because I would think that this is completely different from what you anticipated. So when you think about success and happiness, what does that look like for you and how has it changed?
Oh, when I was younger, I grew up with West Indian parents. So for them, it was, graduate college and get a good job and move up the corporate ladder. And I was doing that for years. Uh, and it just never felt like a sense of gratitude for me doing it. Like I did it, I moved up, I got better positions, I made more money, and then I made more money, and then I made more money. But it comes to a certain time where you make enough money, it just doesn't matter anymore. You just want to feel fulfilled. And these things that we do for ourselves, or for myself, should I speak for myself? Um, they didn't feel fulfilling anymore. I felt like I had what I want. Was in a good relationship. I had a great job. I graduated college. I bought a house. I had it all. And then I just wasn't enough. And when I started traveling, when I was working, they gave you 2, 3 weeks out of the year to travel. Well, I mean, that's not enough. I want to take a birthday trip. I want to take a trip for Cinco de Mayo. I want to take a trip to Flag Day. I want to take a trip every weekend, any weekend I possibly could. And it just wasn't enough for me to travel and feel fulfilled with a job. So I feel like my idea of success changed once I started traveling and I looked at myself and I was like, this is what I want to do for a living. Every trip I took, I told myself, if I could do this for a living, I would be happy. And I found a way to leave corporate America, live somewhere that I always wanted to be, and vacation and go back home instead of vacation and go to an exotic island or something. So my definition of success vastly changed once I left corporate. Success for me is not defined by my position, my job, how much money I make. Success for me is now finding happiness, feeling like I'm free and having some sense of freedom and just being at a place that I feel comfortable, I feel relaxed, and I have the necessary tools and resources that I need by my side without it being absorbently expensive like living in the States. So me right now, that's what I define as success, as opposed to being, in my younger days where I wanted to be a kinesiologist or I wanted to be in nursing like that. I have a desire for those things and health and wellness, but it's no longer in a position. It's just being free. And that's exactly what I feel here now being in Bali. I've been able to create an entire community where I can allow or give people the resources for them to find their happiness and their success and their freedom. So it's full circle.
It sounds like it. And you've had a lot of opportunities to travel, and then you just finding home, that sense of home in Bali. I know a lot of people in our community, Black and Brown community, have a fear of traveling, the
Mhm.
unknown or exploring the world. And so, from your experience, how would you encourage someone who has that hesitation to experience something different when it comes to traveling and experiencing other cultures?
I would say do some research. The boom of influencers since 2020 it's blown up significantly. I don't think there was a whole lot of people that were traveling, Black and brown people that were traveling until, you know, 2022. You see Black and brown influencers everywhere you go. Now, some of the information that they provide you isn't always correct because I see people saying you can live in Bali for $200 a month. I mean, you probably could, but you're going to be living on someone's floor. So, not all information is true information and is good information. But I will say, talk to people that you know that have traveled. Don't listen to all of the negative perceptions of travel that people have. You can always tap into the Black and Bali community. We have a WhatsApp chat. You can just jump in that chat and ask some questions. A lot of people are traveling now, and it's beautiful. I think for people in the United States in particular, Americans are the last to get to the traveling bug. I think a lot of people from like Europe and other countries, they just kind of grew up traveling and migrating. And especially African Americans, we are like dead last to traveling. We just don't travel. We stay put. The majority of us don't even have passports. So I would say reach out to somebody that you know that has traveled, see what their experience is. Go on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, see what people's experiences are, and not just their highlight reels. Go into people's pages that actually give you like a rundown of what they do, like the do's and don'ts, and the ups and the downs. Because everywhere you travel, you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. I know people that haven't had the best experiences, but that's not always everybody's experience. So for me, I would just say do some research. There's a lot of information out there. So if you look, you will definitely find it.
I would agree there has definitely been an increase in travel influencers, which I think is great. That, I guess, with the pandemic, some of us were kind of forced with doing things or had the courage to be able to travel and work remotely. And so that's been a plus out of that to see so many people kind of step outside of their comfort zone and travel more. There were a lot of people traveling, excuse me, working remotely in different countries if they were able to do that. So it definitely is an increase. And I think about I don't know if you consider yourself, I wouldn't say a travel influencer, but I think you're someone that people will probably be inspired by living in Bali, creating this community in this space where people can come together and connect and have a good time. I think that's definitely inspiration. When I look at the posts that you all have, it's like you want to be there. It seems like you all have an amazing time. And I would say that what you're doing and have done is very successful with you and your partners. And so when you think about just success in general and the things that you have done, moving to Bali and everything out of that, do you celebrate your achievements? I know that when I meet a lot of women, especially Black women, we struggle. We struggle with acknowledging the amazing things that we've done. We minimize compliments and we don't realize it. And so for you, have you ever taken a moment just to say, like, Jana, I'm proud of you, or just to celebrate all the amazing things that you're doing?
I have recently started doing that. I don't think I gave myself enough credit for how far I've come in my journey, in just traveling and choosing myself. Luckily, I have an amazing boyfriend who reminds me constantly that I've come this far and keep going. And if you've done this much, you can do so much more. He's also my business partner as well, Antoine. So he's a constant reminder of just how much I've done since we've met. I also have my very good friend Marvell, who's lived here for 7 years, and she will tell me all the time, like the time I met you, like you have just blossomed, and you've grown so much, and she'll remind me. So now when I make small efforts to do things, I'll take a moment to reflect on it. I'll journal about it, go back and read it, and tell myself like, yeah, you did that, girl, you did that. So just to remind myself that keep going, keep pushing, and keep breaking through those walls that you placed in front of yourself, because there's obstacles that you're going to go through every day. I think one of the largest things that I've pushed through recently is doing a few of these podcasts. Like, I've always been afraid to speak publicly, and I'm getting more and more comfortable doing it and talking about my story. I'm kind of closed off a little bit, and it takes a little bit for me to warm up to people. So being vulnerable and talking about my past, like even talking about my father who recently passed, is been a little bit tough, but just opening up and being able to express myself and have a voice. I think that's one thing as a child it's always been difficult for me to do, being the youngest child. I've always had my brother and my sister kind of speak for me. And now that I'm out here, by myself, it's just like, oh no, your voice is your voice, so you have to speak louder. So I'm proud of myself that I was able to do these small steps that created this huge change in my life. Yeah.
That's all. That is awesome, and I love that you acknowledge that you also have people around you who remind you. We talked about community, which is this community that you all have created, but your inner circle, right, of community that pours into you. So for you, what does it mean to have your boyfriend and your good friend, that personal support that is rooting for you, cheering for you, affirming you in those moments where maybe you can't do it for yourself?
I feel like I would feel a bit lost here. And if I did not have them, I don't know where I would be. Maybe I wouldn't even be in Bali anymore. And that was a part of the reason why we felt it was so important to build a community here, because we know that there's a vast amount of solo travelers here that don't have family, and they're looking for that sense of familiarity everywhere they go. Black in Bali really started from, just a small group of us throwing villa parties in 2019, and we were like, you know what, why don't we do this more often? Why don't we do some community building? And we're all over here by ourselves, like we're all we got, so let's continue doing this. And from 2019, that concept became we're a registered company here in Indonesia. We pay taxes and all, and we're trying to provide those same resources that we didn't have when we initially came over here. We want people to feel like they can have a place they can come to if there's a problem, if they run into anything that, might be abnormal for them. We've had very serious instances that have happened just this year. We've had a few people pass away, and when you're abroad, you don't know what to do when you meet somebody and then the next day they're gone. Like, we don't know their family, we don't know, who might know them. But when you have such a large community, it's just we band together. It's like, oh, I know this person, I know that person, this person needs help, this person needs to go to the doctor. It's instant, like you don't even think about it, to the point where there's government officials that will reach out to us if we need, or if they need help identifying somebody. So it's almost like it is the family that we have here, but more importantly, it's a home away from home, especially if you're living here. And you need that. You need a sense of peace and knowing that if anything comes up, whether good or bad, we have your back. Like, we have one another. And just celebrating Juneteenth and this whole celebration of freedom in Indonesia is another huge thing for us, as being African Americans living abroad in another country. To me, that's the ultimate flex of freedom. You're in a whole other country celebrating Juneteenth. Like, that's amazing to me. But it's important to have that community, and we knew that we needed that. And from Black in Bali, there's been so many other Black in communities that have started. There's Black in Bangkok, there's Black in Pattaya, there's Black in Phuket, there's Black in Vietnam, and there's all these other places around the world. And it became a need for us to have this community, not just in Indonesia or Mexico or Portugal, but around the world. And it's so beautiful, so beautiful.
I have not heard about those other groups, but that is pretty impressive. You all inspired others in different countries to start a community where Black and Brown people can come together. So that's huge. The
Yes.
Juneteenth is definitely a flex. Like, that's a flex for sure. To be able to do that, year after year. Is this your fourth or fifth year that you all are approaching?
This is our fifth year, and the largest yet. We're so excited. It is the largest Juneteenth celebration in Southeast Asia. Last year, we had 250 plus people either come in or join us for our celebration. And this year, we're expecting over 400 people to join us
Wow.
for the Juneteenth celebration. We are also having a Juneteenth takeover event, and it'll be a 7-day takeover retreat in which we are anticipating over 100 individuals to fly in from all over the world. We have amazing accommodations for them. We're doing all of the Bali things that you want to do, from the swings to the temples to the waterfalls. And then we're also, having some fun. We're doing the Juneteenth celebration. We're doing the yacht sunset cruise party, where you're going to rep your flag, bring the flag of your country or your state, rep your flag. And we're also having the pool party and brunch, which is going to be beachside, beautiful, with water sports available at the beach. So it's an amazing experience, and we're just super excited. It's the first year we're doing this 7-day long event for these individuals, and we cannot wait. It's going to be a blast.
I bet it will be for sure. I got a chance to listen to the live that you all hosted in, just very well thought out and a very welcoming community, just inviting and, encouraging people to come, but it felt very welcoming. Just listen to you all talk about the experience. And so that is great that you've been able to celebrate Juneteenth, but then also get over 100 people to fly in to celebrate for 7 days as well. And so I would say you all are trailblazers and you're a trailblazer. And you're not only doing that, you're inspiring others in other countries to show that presence and represent. So that's huge. And I'm so happy to hear that you are at a place now where, you are recognizing all the amazing things that you've done and that you have that sense of community to also remind you as well. So Jenna, I have to ask you one of my favorite questions from the podcast because I do believe it's so important for us to have a relationship with our younger self. So, if you could have a heart to heart with the younger Jana, what would you tell her?
Oh, that is a really good question. If I could talk to my younger self, I would say, Jana, be bold, be brave, and just let go. I've held on to a lot of fear when I was a child, and I was extremely shy and very quiet. And it didn't take much for me to like just ball up and hide. I think to my younger self, my looking at my older self as a child, I feel like my younger self would be proud of who I became. Um, I've come a long way to from where I've come from being in Arizona all the way from the desert to the jungle. um, I would definitely tell myself to just have fun in everything you do. There's always going to be painful things that happen, and there's always going to be some type of joy or a lesson that you can get out of everything. So do not dwell on the small things. Enjoy life because you don't know how long or how short it's going to be.
That,
Yeah.
that's the last part is, enjoy life because we don't know. You don't know. And I love that, you recognize that you tell her like you're proud of where you've come from and the things that you're doing. It's just so important for us to stay connected with our younger selves. And so you being able to highlight that is my favorite question. I appreciate that. Now I do have a question I have to ask you because you mentioned from the desert to the jungle. And I'm from Florida, and so I don't like lizards. So living in the jungle, and I'm thinking about iguanas and whatever else that can, and I know it's very normal there. So, what type of adjustment was it for you moving from the desert into basically being around so much greenery? There's lots of jungles and stairs, but just thinking of the difference of the landscape, how did you adjust to that?
Oh, my adjustment. It was easy. No, I wouldn't say it's easy. I'm always been one to love like the humidity. Like I've been to Florida several times, and when I go there, just like the feel of the climate, and it just feels like home to me. So Arizona never felt like home to me. It never felt comfortable. Arizona is very dry, very blow dryer in your face type of heat. So when I came out here, the climate just it felt right. Like the humidity, even the rain. Girl, the rain. It rains. It could rain all day long, and I love it. I love it. Um, I think the bugs was the biggest thing for me because mosquitoes aren't very prevalent in Arizona. But when I came out here, oh, I was fresh meat for these mosquitoes. And I've gotten so many mosquito bites, but I've learned along the way how to adapt and eat garlic and just do small little tips and tricks to keep the mosquitoes away. Now, these lizards and these snakes and these monkeys, that's another thing. Because I've come into contact with a couple of small snakes, and I just come to a point where you got to know that this is their place. Like they live here, this is their land. Okay, feel free, just get out of my house at this moment. They do have these very large lizards. They're called tokays, and they eat bugs. They typically stay outside. You never see them crawling on the floor. They make really loud sounds like frogs. They become my friends now. I name them whenever I see them. It's a little strange. But one thing I will never get used to are these huntsman spiders. They're spiders that are as big as your hand, and they jump. Um, I think that's the only thing in 5 years of living in Bali I have not adjusted to is the damn spiders. But everything else I allow. It's Bali. They were here first, so I'm just visiting. I'm just the visitor here. I'm adjusting perfectly fine.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, the spiders, I don't know how, but I can get why you not quite adjusting. But yeah, there are a lot of, if you're not used to living in a place with insects and
Mm.
spiders and the lizards, it can be a shock for you. But I know
Yeah,
it's so beautiful there that it's probably easy just to be like, hey, that's fine. So earlier
yeah.
you talked about you did mention, you're just a little bit about your healing journey and you just pouring into yourself. And I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite self-care activities in Bali to stay grounded? You may not consider it a self-care activity, but like things that you enjoy that just like pours into you.
I like going to the markets, the small the food markets that they have here. There's a really large fruit market down the street from my house, and I just find so much joy in just walking there. And I grab a basket and I'm picking fruit. Like it's a time for myself, but and it seems so small, but just it just feels so good just being in a place that just has an abundance of just nutritious fruit, and that's it seems small, but it just brings me so much joy. I also enjoy going to the beach, having a coconut, putting my feet in the water, putting my feet in the sand. Some of the things that I enjoy doing are just absolutely free. Going to the rice field and just staring out into the jungles and enjoying the scenery. And one thing that I did during the pandemic that really just allowed a lot of like overwhelming like sense of ah was driving my motorbike up north through the rice fields, through the mountains, and just seeing the untouched parts of Bali that a lot of travelers really don't get the experience to see. I know that there's a lot of tourism in the southern end of the island, but when you start going up north to the north coast or to the east coast of Bali, you'll reach communities that don't really even see tourists. So when you drive there and you stop, they'll look at you, but it's not really a look of like disgust or like what are you doing here? It's pure curiosity. And the little kids will come up to you and say hi, and they'll talk to you or they'll touch my braids, and it's pure curiosity, and it's just a sense of I can't even explain it. I There's just no words I can even explain it, but just going to other parts of Bali and just experiencing different sceneries. Just small things, getting my nails done. I love getting my nails done, toes done. Massages are a dime a dozen out here, so you can have someone come to your house, or you can go to this massage parlor and get a massage. There's so many small, just things you can do here that just bring me so much joy, and I might overlook them at times, but sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, I really live in Indonesia. I'm really here in Bali. And that's just a joy in itself to think of that I've made my way all the way over here, and I'm enjoying my life and every moment of it, good or bad.
Good or bad. Yeah, good or bad. That's a great place to be where you can just have gratitude regardless of what's
Mhm.
going on. But being there, just you still having that experience being how long you've already lived there in Bali. And so that's great. I love that you mentioned that you have a lot of activities that are free. I think a lot of people
Mhm.
think self-care includes spending all this money, but it's the simple things sometimes that really, really matter. So going to the market, I feel like Bali, when I was there, juice, like fresh juice was a thing. You
Yes.
can get fresh juice anywhere. And so the food, of course, is different from here in the States. And so you enjoying something as simple as going to the market and in the beach, and it doesn't have to be expensive, the rice fields. I think that was a good point to share, especially for travelers who want to visit Bali. I know for me, I tell people it's not expensive when you're there. You can do a lot of great things and not have to spend a whole lot of money. Even though you're talking about the rent thing, I hadn't heard that one, but if that was the case, I would definitely be ready to leave tomorrow. but just sharing that there's so many things that you enjoy that don't require you to spend money and you can still pour into yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, the events that we have regularly, like we have a brunch this Sunday, it's free. We do community service, that's free. We have an event called Groove Theory where we have local and Black musicians come together and we just vibe out. And there's game night where we just play Uno and spades and dominoes. It's the simple things that just bring you the most joy sometimes, and coming together with other people and just enjoying those simple things together. Oh, love it. Like we had a group of individuals that went to the movies to see Sinners. I mean, it's the movies is $3 or $4, but it's still a community event and you get together, and then afterwards they had a discussion about the movie and broke it down. So it's 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 just the small things that you enjoy, and I don't take anything for granted being here. I enjoy every moment. Like my dog is sick right now and I'm just taking care of her, but I'm enjoying spending time with her and nurturing her back to health. So it's the small things living here, the food, like you said, the food, Indonesian food is amazing. But they also have lots of other types of foods here. Bali can be as cheap as you want it to be, or it can be as expensive as you want it to be. But there's always going to be a ground for you to fit into, especially being here with the Black community. You have a place to call home, a place that you can have community, and a place to where you can feel comfortable and find the resources you're looking for.
Well, Jana, one, thank you again for just spending some time with me today and sharing about your personal journey, being vulnerable with everything that you have going on. I know that we've been trying to connect, and I just had to have you on a podcast because I love what you all are doing in Bali. So, is there anything else that you didn't get a chance to share with us that you would like to share?
I want to give thanks to my two business partners. They've been very instrumental and have been the push that I've needed to be a better business partner. I want to thank Dharma Martin. I want to thank my boyfriend, Antoine Clinton. They've been very instrumental in helping me, sculpting me to be the woman that I am today, especially my partner, Antoine. He's been there going on 5.5 years strong, and he's my rock. He's been my rock through all of this. So I just want to give a special thanks to him as well. And to the community here, I want to thank the community, the Black and Bali community specifically, for continuing to let everybody know that we're out here giving back. They donate to us as well, and just letting us continue to push this agenda of getting people to travel and come to Bali, Indonesia, and letting them know that we're here. We're all we got, and we got you as well. Let's have fun. Let's travel. Let's expand our minds. Let's grow, and let's find happiness and freedom.
Yeah. That support and that community is definitely been a theme for this conversation. And I truly believe that is so important for life. And so you all creating that space and them creating that space for you is really, really awesome. How can people connect with you? Black and
Yes.
Molly, all the
Yes.
things you're doing, how can people connect?
You can find us on all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, at Black in Bali. If you want to get in contact with me directly, you could find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Jana Imani 31. That's JanaImani 31 on Instagram. Or you can find us in the WhatsApp group chat. We have our WhatsApp group chat link in our Instagram bio page. So feel free to reach out to us, ask questions, or join the community of people. We have a WhatsApp group that has over 400, 500 individuals every month that we recycle. Jump in there, ask some questions. It's literally like a little family reunion in that chat. It's so much fun as well.
I will be sure to include all of the socials and the ways that they can connect with you as well as Black and Bali. And like I said, Jana, having you on my podcast is really, really something that I wanted because I just remember my experience when I went to Bali, and anybody that knows me will tell you I fell in love. I'm like, it's just different. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to experience it to understand.
100%. You don't know until you get here. And then when you go back, you're like, oh. yeah, that was the place.
Right, like, take me back. So, just you being able to share from your perspective and your experience has just really been great. I hope that inspires someone that's listening to, step out. One, find your voice. Don't be afraid to travel. Look for different communities. Jana shared there's so many other communities now in different countries that are looking to invite you and welcome you and bring help you to either feel that sense of home if you're looking to move or you're just looking for community when you visit. But I think that for the Black and Brown community, especially for the Black community, like we deserve to travel. We deserve and we're worthy of experiences. And so don't let your fear hold you back. You may have to travel solo to get there, but if there's a community there on the other end, then definitely take advantage of that. And so, Jana, again, I just appreciate you being here for my listeners. I appreciate you listening once again to another episode of Leaving a Rich Legacy podcast. I want to remind you that traveling is a part of your legacy because you'll be able to pass that down to the next generation as well when it comes to inspiring them to travel. So I hope that you all have a great day. And until the next time, we'll talk then. Have a good day.